Hey guys, well today I have a battle video from my recent city championships. This is a top 8 match between me and my opponent John. I'll be running a Durant variant, and my opponent has a, I guess you could say it's Zekrom, Pachi, Shaymin with Eels and Thunderus. So before I get to that, first I wanted to talk about my battle report for that cities. So there were 6 rounds, 34 players, and basically my goal was to get around 500 or so, win percentage wise. So in round 1, I was facing a Magneal, which is Magnezone and Eelectric. There's also a Zekrom in that deck. Now to start off, my opponent built up Zekrom, so it had 3 energies, so it could Bolt Strike, as I, kept devouring. However, I eventually did knock it out with Cobalion, and by this point he had a fully powered Magnezone, so he lost Burn once to knock out the Cobalion. However, at this point he had no more attackers, so I ended up decking him out 2 turns later. So after round 1, I was 1-0. Round 2, I faced a Cake or 6 Corners variant. Now Cake is Cobalion, Kyurem, Electrode, and 6 Corners has a whole bunch of powerful stage 1s, or basics. So throughout the game, he used 2 Energy Mites, which is Electrode's ability, which you knock out that Electrode and take the top 7 cards of your deck and attach any energies you find there in any way you want, and discard the other cards. So by using 2 of them, he's discarded 14 cards, and I could just devour the entire game. So I decked him out pretty early, and I won the second game as well. Record being 2-0. Now in round 3, I saw sort of an older deck. It was pretty big around the Worlds. It's the 4 Corners deck, which is, it's a variant of the 4 Corners deck. It wasn't the exact one, but it ran Zoroark, Donphan, maybe on Mega. I'm not entirely sure, I can't remember. It's been a while. But anyway, he did quickly set up a Zoroark and Donphan, and I couldn't get up my Durants fast enough in the early game. And eventually I played Cobalion as a decoy, so he would try to attack that while I would try and set up my Durants so they could keep devouring every turn. I was able to keep Lost Zoning DCEs from the Zoroark by using Lost Remover, so he couldn't really attack. And eventually I got all of my Durants out. Unfortunately, one was prized, so I had to either knock things out or use Rotom's Mischievous Trick. And eventually I decked him out as well. So after 3 rounds, I was 3-0. And in round 4, faced an interesting deck that I have never seen before, a Hydreigon Zoroark Electrode deck. Now I had the luck that I was able to have a 4-card Devour turn 1, and I devoured as such the whole game. And actually during my devouring, I devoured 3 of his Hydreigon, but he recovered all 3 with a Super Rod, but then I devoured 2 more, so he really couldn't do much to attack. He eventually got one up though, with less than 10 cards in his deck, and of course he decked out shortly after. So, after round 4, I was 4-0. Now round 5 is where things started to fall apart. I faced a Reshiflosion deck, which obviously Durant is weak to fire, so I was at a major disadvantage, but if I was able to, devour things quickly enough, I could be fine. However, he had 2 Typhlosion Primes fully built up by turn 4. That caused me to lose a Pokemon every turn, so simply put, I lost round 5. And after round 5, I was 4-1. As for round 6, I faced a Chandelure. It had Chandelure and Dodrio, I believe it was. No Vileplume, strangely enough. Although he quickly got up 2 Chandelure and 2 Dodrio, but he refused to knock out any Durants. Instead, he put 6 damage counters on each. I was able to knock out one of his Chandelure with a Cobalion, but he eventually knocks out all of my Durants in one turn. I could not come back from this being down 4 prizes just like that, so I lost that game as well. So, after Swiss, I had a record of 4-2. Now, because I lost to someone who eventually went 6-0 and 5-1, I was able to make it to the top cut, my very first top cut. That was pretty exciting. It was a top cut of 8, and I was the 4th seed. So I faced the 5th seed, which you'll see today. He's running, like I said, Zekrom, Eelectric, Thunderus, and let's get that started. Oop, there we go. Wait a second. Alright, there it is. Okay, as you can see, I'm on the right with my usual light blue sleeves and my Abracadabra Alakazam mat, and he is on the left with Zekrom and Thunderus. Zekrom active, Thunderus being on his bench. He rolled to go first. He attaches a lightning to Zekrom. As you can see on my side, I have 2 Durants, which is a pretty good setup. Definitely can't complain, especially now that I have that Pokemon Collector. So I'll be looking for the other 2 Durants, if not 1 Durant and 1 Rotom. But we'll just wait to see what I get here. There we go. Okay, so I take 2 Durants and a Cobalion. I'm probably going to bench those Durants and take the Cobalion in my hand once I'm done shuffling here. So I do end up benching both Durants and taking the Cobalion. Good move, me. Good move. From there, I attach a special metal to Durant. That reduces damage by 10, and Eviolite reduces damage by 20, so any damage I take is reduced by 30 now, which is really awesome. Devour 4. So far, so good. And those were pretty good cards to devour. Looking at his hand, he has a lot of energy in there, so he should be able to Bolt Strike very shortly, which is going to really do some damage to me. So he really can't attack. Outrage wouldn't do a thing, so he passes. I play a Pokegear. That's where you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and take a support from that, if there is one. I take an Oak from the Pokegear. Sorry if I don't speak as much during this match. I'm sort of multitasking because I've actually already seen this battle. You know how in sports players will review tape? I did the same thing the night after this battle, so I've already watched this video and learned from it. So I don't really have much to add commentary-wise, but I do end up playing that Oak that I took. And I'm really hoping for plus some kind of crushing hammer or something that can keep him from, you know, Bolt Striking me the next turn. I apparently have nothing, so I just devour 4. Another pretty good devour. However, I'm still kind of boned here. So he attaches that, and Bolt Strikes for knockout. He takes 40 damage. I'm a little concerned now. If he Bolt Strikes again, he doesn't need to Bolt Strike for the rest of the game if I can't get a Cobalion out. So I do revive one of those Durants. Gonna play another Poke here. Sorry. Distracted. My bad. From there, grab a Twins. I'm going to go ahead and just use that Twins right now. I'm obviously looking for some kind of energy to attach. And possibly a catcher or a crushing hammer. Probably a catcher because that is a higher success rate, I guess you could say. Because my goal here is to have him not use Bolt Strike next turn. Or at least have him, have him discard an energy. Just so he has less to work with. Because if I use Crushing Hammer, there's a 50% chance of that working. Yeah, I do go for the catcher. Crushing Hammer has 50% chance of it working. Catcher has 100% chance of it working. So, either way, he would have to discard an energy to, or use an energy to attack next turn. Which I'm hoping he doesn't have, but he obviously does if you look at his hand. Actually has 2 in there. He attaches an Eviolite. Again, reduces damage by 20 by attacks. And attach and retreat. So now I'm kind of boned. Not thoroughly yet, but it's getting there. It's definitely close. Use Engineer Adjustments, which you discard an energy from your hand and then draw 4 cards. Not the best thing to use against Durant, but, you know, you can make it work if you're in the position that he's in right now. Puts a Eelectric back in his deck. It's probably searching for a Dynamo, I would imagine. Unless it doesn't have one, which is possible at this point. I've devoured at least one, if not more than that. He goes for a Shaymin because he's out of Dynamo. Now Shaymin's Poke Power Celebration Wind allows you to move energy around your field when he's put into play from your hand. And I have no clue what that was about. I have the sound off so it doesn't distract me. So he Bolt Strikes for the knockout, and he'll actually need to Bolt Strike again to, well, no, not necessarily. If I don't have a Eviolite on a Durant, he can just Outrage for the knockout. Which kind of sucks, but, you know, it's the best I can work with right now. See, at this point, it would probably be a good idea to start working on a Cobalion, just so I can get rid of that Zekrom. I'm realizing that's a problem now. I'm not sure if I did that then, but we'll find out, I guess, very shortly. I play a Juniper where I discard my whole hand and get 7 new cards. Now you see I did discard one of my 2 Cobalion, So, I apparently was not thinking what I'm thinking right now, as I'm still determined on devouring his whole deck. But if you look at this deck, it's still pretty full. There's still a lot there, so I'm not really in good shape. While I'm talking about this, I should mention that my deck is completely built by me. I did not look at any other deck lists. I actually ran Cobalion in this deck before it was cool, so I guess you could say I'm sort of a Durant hipster in that regard. But yeah, everyone seems to hate my deck, which means I'm doing something right, obviously. My entire league is pretty much angered by it, which a few of them will watch this video and probably agree with me, because, you know, it's definitely a pain in the ass to play against, especially if you have a poor start. If Durant has a good start, you're not gonna have a fun day. That's all there is to it. Alright, so on his turn he ended up with a Dynamo finally, and outraged a Durant for knockout with a plus power. Once again, I really should have worked on Cobalion before this. Here he's counting his cards. Let me see if I can get a number here. It was I think 24 or so. So at this point it's just ridiculous to try to keep devouring. So I imagine I'm definitely going to go for the Cobalion here. I would hope, at least. Not sure I like that idea, actually. Junk armed for a catcher and brought up the Dynamo. Then he used Oak. It actually looks like my deck is smaller than his, which is not what you want when you're a Durant. So, yeah. Sort of a game state update. He has 3 prizes left to my 6. As how Durant works, I'm not really going for prizes, but you know, he is, so it's good to note that he does have 3 prizes left. So devouring, like I said, is not really going to help me here. While I was talking there, I used a Crushing Hammer, which failed, so I couldn't discard any energy, and that sucks. But I'm still going to try to devour here. Not sure I really agree with that anymore, but hey, discarded 3 energies, so nothing wrong with that. So he does attach to Dynamo, then retreats to Zekrom, who will easily knock me out. Of course, he evolves to Eelectric, and then Dynamotors onto Eelectric. That prevents the case that I catch it up again. He just needs to attach 1 to retreat, as opposed to 2. And then he outrages for the knockout. He's down to 2 prizes now. And yes, I probably should have brought up a Cobalion at least 2 prizes ago. But a Juniper to get a fresh hand of 7. Crushing Hammer again, and that one succeeds. And I have a decision to make. Do I go for the Zekrom or the Eelectric? Now the smart move here is to go for the Electric, because then I can catch that up and have it stuck there for a while. Because Zekrom will not really help me at all, as it can knock out all of my Pokemon in one hit, regardless. So I do make the smart decision and go for the Eelectric. It looks like I do Eek here. Cleffa is asleep, so that's a lucky break for me. He dynamos onto that Electric. There's a whole lot of thinking here, so pardon the lack of commentary. So I'm back. Crushing Hammered there and succeeded, so I took off the energy he dynamoted. I finally have a Cobalion right here. Finally. Took me long enough. So I did play the Cobalion and attached a metal to it. Cleffa's still asleep, so I can't attack this turn. Here I'm thinking, what can I do? I'm sort of in trouble here. Best case scenario would be to have a Shaymin in my hand and another energy. So next turn I could retreat Cleffa or replace it with Cobalion in some way. Attach and Shaymin that one energy to Durant onto Cobalion. That would allow me to do 60 to the Zekrom. Help immensely. So I ended up passing and Cleffa's still asleep. Get a little close to the microphone here. Might help things out. So we dynamotors onto the Thunderus. Just a side note, Dynamotor only works on the benched Pokemon. You can't Dynamotor anything onto inactive, just the benched. At this point I have 9 cards in my deck, which is definitely less than his, so like I said, not really something you want in a Durant deck, to have less cards than your opponent. Unless you're facing a Durant deck, in which case that was supposed to happen, but not here. So Cleffa is awake, I draw, I attach, But I don't think I have a Shaymin in my hand, so I can't do anything helpful here. I'm actually not sure if Shaymin's still in play for that matter. I may have discarded it a while ago, or maybe in my prizes. I don't really know. Oh no, it's right there. Alright, so I did have Shaymin. Took a long time to think there. And I use it, move the energy from Durant to Cobalion, and promote Cobalion to active. After retreating Cleffa, of course, who has free retreat. It's pretty useful. So I Iron Breaker for 60, usually does 80, but he has the Eviolite, which reduces damage by 20, so it does 60, does not knock him out, but at the same time, Zekrom can't attack this turn. So we Dynamotors onto the Thunderus there. It retreats the Zekrom with the infinite damage on it. Attaches to the Zekrom. And Disaster Bolts for 80? Yeah, 80. All those energies are normal metal, not special. So for some reason I revive, because I think there's... Oh, actually I think it's for Cobalion. Should be coming up soon. He has 16 cards left in his deck, so it's still impractical to do anything with Durant's. So I get a Cobalion from the discard there. And I think. And I ponder. And I think. Basically anything I do is going to knock out, or result in Cobalion being knocked out. So I end up catching the Zekrom and praying he doesn't have an energy in his hand. So I knock him out with either of the attacks, probably Iron Breaker. He has a choice to make here. As you can see by his hand, there are not any lightning energies. Or energies of any kind, really, but he only has lightning, so... So he does promote the Shaymin, just as sort of a stalling tactic. So Dynamotors. Now let's see. Switches to Thunderus, and Disaster Volts, and I promote the Cleffa, and I think at this point I cannot do anything really. He has one prize left, anything I do is not going to work, so I end up scooping. The Cobalion on my bench was not powered at all, so that's all there is to it. I lost game 1, and we move on to game 2. And as I've been saying, if I'd gotten out a Cobalion sooner, I could have, you know, taken care of the Zekrom, which means he would have less time to set up, and it could have changed the whole face of the game. But I didn't set up a Zekrom until there were 2 or 3 prizes left, so I ended up losing. That's all there is to it. And for those keeping track at home, that is 3 losses in a row after my 4 wins to start the City Championships. So, also at the same time, I'm not very confident, but you know, I still have time to redeem myself. So that is all for Game 1. Stay tuned for Game 2, which I'll post sometime soon. I'm not sure when, but we'll find out. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys.